You might think your shaky hands, tingling feet, or burning skin are just part of aging. But what if I told you they're messages? Messages from your nerves asking for help. And the answer? It might just be 6 forgotten vitamins your body is quietly craving. Stick with me, because this could change how you feel, move, and heal after 60. Nerve damage doesn't scream at first. It whispers through stumbles, strange skin sensations, or silent stiffness. And by the time it gets loud, healing becomes harder. But Dr. Hinohara believed this. If we listen early, really listen, we can guide the body to repair itself. Today we begin that journey. 6 nutrients, 6 doors, and maybe one path back to clarity and calm. Vitamin B1, the spark for nerve signals. They often come in the morning, moments you brush off without thinking, your hand trembles slightly as you pour tea, your toothbrush slips for just a second, or your foot drags ever so softly when stepping off the bed. You call it clumsiness. I call it a whisper, because before the nerves go silent, they flicker. And vitamin B1, also known as thiamine, is one of the first things your nervous system cries out for when it begins to struggle. Let me explain. Your nerves aren't just wires, they're living messengers. To fire a signal from your foot to your brain, they need energy. And that energy comes from breaking down glucose through a process called cellular respiration. Vitamin B1 acts like the spark plug in that process. Without it, even if you eat enough food, your nerves don't get the charge. The message stalls. The hands grow weak. The feet grow numb. The world, slowly, grows dull. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Neurology, Seoul National University Hospital, 2021, showed that older adults with peripheral nerve issues had significantly improved signal speed and sensitivity when they took 100 milligrams of thiamine daily for just 4 weeks. But here's what most people don't know. After 60, our ability to absorb B1 drops dramatically, and common medications like diuretics or metformin can lower it even more. That means many older adults are running low and don't even know it. Rosa didn't. She was 72 when we first spoke. Kind, clear-eyed, but visibly frustrated. Her handwriting had changed, her grip had weakened, and she thought she was just getting older. I asked her to try something simple. 100 milligrams of vitamin B1, taken in the morning with breakfast. We use the benfotiamine form. It absorbs better in aging tissues. Within 3 weeks, she could write her shopping list again. Not because of miracles, because her nerves finally had fuel. If your hands feel slow, if you drop things more than you used to, don't wait for things to worsen. This may be the body's quiet way of asking, can you help me spark again? Vitamin B1 isn't a cure-all, but it's one of the most forgotten building blocks of nerve repair. Try this. Dose, 100 milligrams. Form, benfotiamine. When? With your first meal of the day. Track, watch your grip strength and fine motor control over 2 to 4 weeks. Because when you give the nerves fuel, they often remember how to fire again. Vitamin B12, the insulator. It starts with a shuffle. 1 foot drags. Your balance feels just slightly off. You miss a step on the stairs, forget where your keys are, then forget where you were walking to in the first place. Most people blame the brain, but I look somewhere quieter. The outer shell of the nerve itself. You see, your nerves aren't just wires. They're more like cables wrapped in protective rubber. That rubber, it's called the myelin sheath, and without it, even healthy nerve signals leak, stutter, or vanish entirely. Vitamin B12 is what helps your body build and rebuild that insulation. It's not optional, it's foundational. In fact, a deficiency in B12 doesn't always show up in blood tests first. It shows up in your gait. A 2020 study published in Neurology and Therapy from the University of Milan found that seniors with even borderline B12 levels experience slower nerve reflexes, diminished balance, and poor memory recall before blood markers showed severe deficiency. Why? Because the nerves are first to suffer, and often last to heal. That's why Rosa's second step in her recovery was this. We added B12, but not just any form. The version we used was methylcobalamin, a bioactive form that bypasses weak digestion and enters directly into the bloodstream. We used 1,000 micrograms taken sublingually under the tongue every morning. And that's where the shift began. Her balance, which had become stiff and hesitant, started to ease. Her steps were no longer guarded, and her confidence returned because she didn't feel like she had to scan the floor for every crack. This is what most people miss. You don't have to wait until your legs give out or your memory slips. Your nerves send early messages, and they often begin at your feet. So, here's what I tell my older patients. If you notice balance hesitations, leg fatigue with no clear cause, tingling in your feet or hands, then ask yourself, have you checked your insulation? Because B12 doesn't just help memory, it rebuilds nerve armor, and that gives your body, your whole self, a chance to feel safe again. Try this. Form: Methylcobalamin. Dose: 1,000 micrograms. When: morning, sublingually. Track: watch for balance, clarity, and mood over 2 to 3 weeks. This may be one of the most overlooked root causes of imbalance after 60. But the fix? It's often simple and healing. Before we go further, I want to pause and ask, have you ever felt unsteady even when nothing looks wrong? Let me know in the comments. You're not alone. Vitamin D, the mood nerve. Link: some days feel heavier than others, not because of bad news or long walks, but because your limbs feel slower, your thoughts lag behind your words, and a strange invisible fog seems to wrap around both body and mind. This isn't just aging, it's often the weight of inflammation. And vitamin D is what helps you lift it. You've likely heard of it as the sunshine vitamin. But what many don't realize is that vitamin D is a critical signal molecule for your entire nervous system. It doesn't just build bones, it protects nerves from overactive immune attacks. And when it's missing, those nerves are left vulnerable, irritated, inflamed, and unprotected. A 2020 study from the University of Milan, published in Neurology and Therapy, found that seniors with low vitamin D levels had more frequent and intense nerve pain, slower recovery from neuropathy, and even higher rates of depression. Why depression? Because vitamin D receptors aren't just in your bones, they're in your brain, in your spinal cord, in your nerve sheaths, and without them, the signals of calm, clarity, and balance lose their way. This is why I often call vitamin D the nervous system's tuning fork. It sets the vibration, keeps the system steady. Without it, everything feels off pitch. When I met Harold, 69 years old, stoic but tired, he described it like this: I'm not in pain, but I feel dull, like I'm under a wet blanket all day. His blood work showed a vitamin D level of 19 nanograms per milliliter, far below the optimal threshold. So we started gently. 2,000 IU per day, taken at lunch with olive oil or avocado so the fat could help it absorb. 3 weeks later, he returned. The blanket hadn't lifted completely, but the edges were lighter. His legs felt more reliable. His thoughts came faster. His eyes were clearer, not because of a magic pill, but because the body had remembered something it was missing. If you live in the northern hemisphere, if your skin tone is darker, if you avoid sunlight, take statins, or have gut issues, you're more likely than not to be deficient. And that deficiency might not show up as fatigue. It may show up as anxiety, as tingling, as unspoken sadness. Try this. Form: D3 cholecalciferol. Dose: 2,000 IU timing, midday with healthy fats. Track mood, sleep, nerve pain over 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes healing isn't about adding new things. It's about restoring what was always supposed to be there: sunlight and signal. Alpha-lipoic acid, the nerve detoxifier. There's a silence that lives inside some forms of pain, a burning foot that feels numb at the same time, a sharpness in the leg that arrives without movement, a buzzing in the hands, even at rest. Many people feel these things but can't explain them. They say, I must be overreacting, but they're not. These are signs of oxidative stress, when your nerves are under chemical assault from within. And there's one molecule I trust when I see this pattern again and again: alpha-lipoic acid, or ALA. ALA is your nervous system's internal cleanup crew. It's both water and fat soluble, meaning it can move between cell membranes and nerve tissues like almost no other antioxidant. It doesn't just neutralize free radicals, it restores energy production in damaged nerves. That's crucial because your nerves need fuel to fire. But when they're inflamed and toxic, even healthy food and vitamins don't reach them properly. A clinical study published in the Diabetic Medicine Journal, Germany, 2017, followed 181 older adults with nerve pain. Those who took 600 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid daily reported a 52% reduction in neuropathic pain after just 5 weeks, with improvements in sensation, temperature tolerance, and walking confidence. I've seen it firsthand. There was a gentleman, Mr. Kuroda, former woodworker, proud, independent. He came to me ashamed, not because of pain, but because of how it made him feel, useless. His hands, once so steady with tools, now trembled when buttoning a shirt. His fingertips were numb, not just dull, but foreign. He told me, "It's like my fingers belong to someone else." We started with alpha-lipoic acid, 600 milligrams in the morning on an empty stomach. For 30 days. He called me on day 26, and all he said was, "I buttoned my own shirt today." That's not just a biochemical response. That's dignity restored. ALA doesn't work for everyone instantly, but if you experience numbness with pain, burning without motion, fatigue after small effort, then your nerves may be clogged, not just worn out. And ALA may help them breathe again. Try this. Form. RALA, bioactive version if available. Dose. 600 milligrams. Timing. Morning, empty stomach. Track tolerance to textures, burning, finger precision over 3 to 5 weeks. Because sometimes healing begins not by adding force, but by clearing space for the nerves to remember who they are. Have you ever lost confidence in your hands, or started avoiding small tasks because you couldn't trust your grip? If so, let me know below. You'd be surprised how many others have quietly felt the same. Vitamin C, the connector. Some people describe it like this: my nerves feel like they're talking past each other, or my fingers move, but they don't feel what they touch. This kind of disconnection often happens when the infrastructure between nerve cells begins to weaken. And one of the most overlooked builders in that infrastructure is vitamin C. We think of it as the cold fighter, the orange juice vitamin. But to your nervous system, vitamin C is a master architect. It's essential for the production of collagen, the structural protein that wraps and cushions your nerve fibers. Think of collagen like the scaffolding that keeps a building from collapsing during an earthquake. When your nerves are inflamed or damaged, vitamin C helps rebuild the lining so the signals have something stable to travel along. But that's not all. Vitamin C also plays a direct role in synthesizing neurotransmitters, the chemicals that nerves use to talk to each other. Without enough C, the signal gets weak, scattered, or even lost. In 2018, researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden conducted a study on aging patients with peripheral nerve dysfunction. They found that those who supplemented with 500 milligrams of vitamin C twice daily had 29% faster nerve conduction velocity after just 4 weeks compared to controls. In other words, better communication, better response, better feel. Let me tell you about Claire. She was 75, a retired piano teacher. Graceful, articulate, but frustrated. She told me, "I can still play, but I don't feel the keys the same. My hands don't listen the way they used to." We added just one thing, 500 milligrams of vitamin C, taken in the morning and again in the evening, with a small snack each time to ease absorption. 4 weeks in, she smiled, not because her speed improved, but because the touch returned. "I can feel the weight of the keys again," she said. That to me was the real music. If you're noticing, fine motor disconnect, numb fingertips, a sense that your body isn't listening, then your nerve connectors may need repair. Try this. Form, buffered or liposomal. Vitamin C, gentler on digestion. Dose, 500 milligrams twice daily. Timing, AM and PM with food track. Finger precision, grip strength, sensory feedback over 2 to 4 weeks. Your nerves are not broken. They may simply be underconnected. And sometimes the right vitamin can help them reach out and touch life again. Vitamin E, the guardian of nerve cells. Some pains don't throb. They come like a slow tide, numb toes after sitting too long, legs that wake up slower than they used to, or a prickling in your feet at night, even when you've done nothing at all. These are signs not of damage alone, but of vulnerability. Your nerves aren't just sending messages. They're trying to protect themselves, but they're losing the battle against time, toxins, and poor blood flow. That's where vitamin E comes in. If I had to choose one image, I'd call it an umbrella in a nerve storm. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant, meaning it settles directly into the cell membranes of your nerves, where oxidative stress often attacks first. Think of it like a shield, absorbing the blow so your fragile nerve endings don't have to. It also improves microcirculation, bringing more oxygen and nutrients to areas like the feet, fingertips, and lower legs, where aging nerves tend to suffer the most. A 2016 study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry showed that older adults who supplemented with 400 IU of natural vitamin E daily experienced faster nerve conduction speeds, less numbness, and better foot sensitivity over 8 weeks. This wasn't just about pain, it was about performance. One man I knew, Mr. Fujiwara, was a retired postal worker. He loved to walk, said it cleared the cobwebs. But over time, he noticed a dullness. He could no longer feel the sidewalk beneath his feet. Not pain, but detachment. That scared him more than pain ever did. Without feeling, he said, I don't trust my steps. We added vitamin E, 400 IU from the D-alpha tocopherol natural form, taken with dinner since Fat AIDS absorption 8-week protocol. By week 6, the change wasn't dramatic, but it was meaningful. I feel the ground again, he said, like my feet are part of me. Vitamin E doesn't work like a painkiller. It works like a quiet protector, reducing damage and restoring awareness before it's too late. If you've noticed, numbness without explanation, loss of tactile sensitivity, hesitance in walking without support, your nerves may be asking for cover. Try this. Form, natural D-alpha tocopherol. Dose, 400 IU timing. With evening meal, track foot sensitivity, walking confidence, warmth in extremities over 4 to 8 weeks. Because sometimes healing isn't about doing more. It's about offering shelter to what still wants to stay alive inside you. We often talk about pain as something to fix, something to silence. But what if it's something to listen to? Because pain isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's the last honest voice in the room. The one whispering, please notice me, please feed me, please stop ignoring the part of you that still wants to feel. As a doctor, I've watched nerves misfire and shut down, but I've also seen them remember, when given warmth, nourishment, and time. I've seen numb fingers learn to write again. Legs that once buckled take calm, steady steps. Smiles return, not because the pain vanished, but because dignity did. You are not broken, you are not too old to heal. You may simply be underfed, undernourished, unseen. And if your body has been whispering, if you've been wondering whether the dullness you feel is just part of life now, I want you to pause, place your hand on your thigh, feel the contact, even if it's faint, even if it tingles. That's a signal, that's connection, that's your body still trying. What if healing doesn't start with a cure, but with a quiet decision to care again? If this message found you, not in your ears, but somewhere deeper, then maybe it's time to stop walking this path alone. Somewhere, someone you love may be feeling the same numbness, the same strange disconnect between body and self, the same quiet fear that healing is no longer possible. You can share this with them, not as advice, but as an offering, as a soft light in the dark hallway we all walk through after 60. And if you'd like to stay close to this kind of knowledge, this kind of remembering, you can subscribe. There are no quick fixes here, just slow truths, ancient signals, and the simple biological kindness your body has been waiting for. We'll be here when you're ready, when your nerves are ready, and when your courage returns, not in loud steps, but in the first quiet feeling of trust beneath your feet.